What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lauriello, coming to you guys with a really exciting episode. I'm joined today again by Mr. Jackson Cole. Jackson comes back on the podcast after about a year, and we catch up on all things skyrunning. We talk about the Canyons 100K. We talk about a lot, training theory, what his trainings looked like, and all kinds of fun stuff and personal FKT projects. Jackson's probably best known for being one of the most talented athletes on the world skyrunner scene. Obviously, he's a New Zealander residing now by way of Missoula, Montana. He's training with the likes of Mr. Adam Peterman and Jeff McGavro. We kind of got into that training dynamic and what was that like and what that has been like kind of training out of that town with those elite athletes as well. And we talked about some of the Skyrunner Series races. We talked about deep into Meet the Minotaur, which is one of Jackson's favorite races. This will be the fourth time, so this will be the fourth time he'll be racing it. He'll be going out in a couple of weeks to go throw down out there, which is one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most exciting and compelling courses in all of North America. If you haven't checked it out yet, highly recommend. We talked about the Grand Teton and the Grand Teton FKT, whether that's still on Jackson's radar, whether that's on anybody's radar at this point, given the circumstances around that precarious mountain. We talked about some really badass personal FKT projects that Jackson will get into that he'll be doing kind of with a team. That sounds just like super fun. That's going to take place in the Cascades. And very last but not least, we talked about Worlds and the World Mountain Running Championship, which Jackson will be competing at later this year in September in the Pyrenees. So, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Jackson is not just a teammate of mine; he's a friend. One of the most inspiring and compelling, like his approach to the sport is just very inspiring to me. I love the way his style is and how he approaches things. He's even had this quote on his Instagram that's, "I just want to drink beer and train." Like, it's just like such a blue collar way of approaching the sport. And I just love it. Like, it's the purest, his approach is just one of the purest ways to attack this sport and fitness. So guys, I hope you enjoy this one. If you don't already follow Jackson, give him a follow. Without further ado, none other than Jackson Cole.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Jackson Cole, welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good, man. It's good to chat again. It's been probably a little over a year since we last talked. So yeah, a lot has happened.
I know, man. Stoked to have you back on. You went after 100K in since the last time I saw you, which is kind of crazy. You tried to do the whole ultra thing, and then you've been training with Adam Peterman and Jeff McGavro, which we got to talk about. There's a lot to dive into, man. Yeah. Maybe let's start us off with kind of what you've been up to maybe in the last year. Maybe like summarize, give us the 5-minute elevator speech on maybe talk about Minotaur and kind of what you did last season.
Yeah. Last season was full focus on the Skyrunning World Series. I ended up traveling a lot, which maybe was a mistake in hindsight. I was in South America, Mexico, all over Europe, and Canada, and got a little burnt out travel-wise, but as far as racing went, it was a pretty good season. I had a good race at Minotaur last year, second to Scott, and had a big PR on that course. So that was a positive. Then had a couple good races out in Europe, at the Matterhorn Ultrax and then at the Skyrunning World Champs. And then also had some cool efforts like in the Grand Canyon and on Bora Peak. but all the successes also had there are a few failures in there as well. Some sickness overseas hindered some race results, and then took some pretty big fall, or one big fall at a race in Spain, which really sucked. But yeah, it was a real yin and yang season. Some real positives to take from it, some negatives, but ultimately, feel like I'm in a good place right now. I had a good winter, and super psyched for. Well, the Minotaur now is coming up in 3 weeks, so getting really psyched for that, and just the snow's melting here in Montana, and I'm just getting really psyched to get outside now. So
nice, man, nice. It's funny. I have one of my training partners and best friends, Brad Barrett, is getting ready for Minotaur. It's like his first sky race and first like overseas race. So I've been trying to like help him like kind of game plan and figure out like how to just get some specificity in for that race. And it's just such a cool course, man. So bananas. Yeah. So this will be what, your third or fourth time running this?
This will be my fourth time.
Fourth time. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be so stoked. Let's talk about a racing stimulus then. So this past weekend, you just raced the Sentinel Hill climb. It looked like you, Adam Peterman, and Jeff McGavro killed each other to get to the top.
Yeah, we really did. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a cool, I mean, it's so funny because it's a low-key event, just the up Mount Sentinel, which is the mountain that we run up almost every day. So competitive because you're racing guys like Adam Peterman and Jeff, and not to mention the slew of other guys and gals in Missoula who just totally crush it. Adam beat me by over a minute, which is always humbling. But Jeff and I really, I had to really gut it out to get ahead of Jeff at the end.
Wow.
He was on my heels, and we're going back and forth on the climb. So yeah, just brutal. And the race started at 6 p.m. and it was maybe like 80 something degrees. So yeah, just super tough, but good to get back at it. And it's always a good stimulus to go really hard up Mount Sentinel.
Oh man,
that's a tough climb.
So you've been in Missoula now for about a year, right?
Yeah, I've been here about a year and a half, I think. Yeah.
Maybe talk about, because it's just such a unique training environment, such a beautiful place, but also a unique training environment given the fact that you've got so many world-class athletes to be able to like key off of and train with and be able to just kind of see where you're at personally. What is it like training with them, especially like Adam, because you've probably seen Adam through the kind of the highs and the lows over his career in the last few years. Like what has that been like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, when I moved here last year, Adam was just coming off of basically having not run for 6 months with his stress fracture. It's awesome training with those guys. And I think one thing that I found is the motivation stays really high because, just for instance, Jeff ran like 160 miles last week.
What?
And you see that and you're like, man, I got to up my game, or at least it just motivates you to get outside on a day that you don't really want to. And then at the same time, it's not I've been in places where there can be a bit of a toxic environment surrounding performance and training, and you like push a little bit too hard when I don't know how to describe it, but like living in a place like Boulder or Salt Lake City, I think could be really tough in that sense because the environment's a little more, I don't know, competitive, a little more cutthroat. But in Missoula, everyone is so low key here. And it's kind of helpful that you have, when somebody like Adam and Jeff, who are two of the best in the world, are just so cool and low key and just happy to be out there. There's there's no competition in training. We're just out there enjoying it and getting the best out of ourselves. So the best way I can describe it is it's just a really positive atmosphere here. And everyone really gets along. And there are a lot of people here who really crush it and no one knows who they are, especially in the mountains here. It's kind of a Montana thing to be really quiet about what you do. And so that's a difference. Like coming from Colorado, I feel like there's a lot more presence online and people talk about stuff they do a lot more frequently. And here you kind of meet these people, you don't know much about them. And then when you slowly start to learn from other people what they've done, you're like, oh, wow, like that's really crazy. And there's a lot of people like that. So it's sort of humbling and keeps you humble, and also pushes you to train harder at sometimes. Yeah.
It's really interesting. Now, so and it's cool to me because like you've obviously lived in Colorado, you trained out of Alamosa, which is kind of a slept on place given your access to the Sangre, and the Sangre mountains are just so insane. Would you say you like Missoula better from a training perspective? Like, is it just easier to get bigger volume into the mountains? Is there a lot more to, like, I wouldn't say more to do, but is it easier on the body, especially being a little bit lower elevation? Like, what would you say as far as like what's better or what's worse?
Yeah, that's a good question. In Alamosa, it was interesting because the access was great, but you would have to drive pretty far regardless. So that's been the biggest positive, is that from my doorstep, I can run and get on trails within 5 minutes. So I don't have to drive too often, which is really nice. The trade-off is that the access to the Alpine is a little harder here. You have to drive a little bit further, and there's no altitude. But yeah, generally Missoula, its access is incredible, especially for trail running and things like gravel biking. And in the winter, I can drive 15 minutes and be at Marshall Mountain, which is a old local ski hill that's closed but still open for access to backcountry skiing. And so when I lived in Alamosa, I'd have to drive to
It's like
Wolf Creek to do any skimo stuff. And here the access is, it's incredible. So the amount I've been able to train has increased dramatically in the past 2 years. But Alamosa, I'm glad that was where I started trail running, because it's so rugged and so rough. Running on Lake Como Road up to Blanca Basin was where I would train most, and that's just a rugged place to train. And I think
terrible road,
just full of boulders and ankle twisters. So yeah, and one thing as well is in Alamosa, I was just training by myself every day. I think there was a stretch of over a year where I don't think that I ran with anyone, or maybe like one or two people. So that's been maybe a little bit more of an adjustment here, training with guys like Adam and Jeff all the time. I sometimes have to make sure that I don't overdo it, because those guys train really hard and are really good runners. And sometimes it's easy to get sucked in a little bit training with them too often. And I have to step back and do my own thing every now and then. But ultimately, Missoula has been a huge positive for my trail running. Alamosa was a fun place to be, and I'm glad I got to experience the Sangres in that way, to get to know a mountain range so well. And I think it's made me a pretty competent mountain scrambler, because the Sangre is it's like heaven, man.
Oh yeah.
You get into the crest down,
so sick.
Everything is just so much good scrambling on good rock. And I've been able to use those experiences to go into ranges in Montana and feel a little more confident in the backcountry here. So,
because it's the thing, it's one of those interesting things. Like, I don't know too much about Montana, but I've read. So, for instance, I remember when Anton he wrote very extensively about some of the, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Granite or Gannett, what that backcountry peak is, but he was comparing Wyoming and Montana to some of the approaches in Colorado, and just how much further back everything is, how much more remote things are in those states. It's just interesting to me, because in Colorado, everything is kind of right in your face. You can get to it relatively, every 14 is a half marathon, essentially. It's not that bad. So it's
there's a lot more wilderness out here. And oftentimes, if you want to get, at least in the ranges that I typically run in, being the Bitterroot and the Mission Mountains, usually there's a decent amount of bushwhacking just to access the alpine. You'll have a trail that goes to an alpine lake, or a lake that's maybe not quite in the alpine yet. So it's often really slow going, but I think it makes you really strong. And one thing that's been interesting is the grading scale here is, I found, quite different. Where in Colorado, something that's considered fourth class would be like, or a better example would be something that's considered fourth class in Montana would be like a 5.5, 5.6 route in Colorado. Montana fourth class is no joke. Anyone that comes out here to climb something that's fourth class, just be ready to, honestly, bring a rope or something for rappels, because it's yeah, it's a different story out here. It's full on. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So your style, obviously, the races that you love to do and what you've been doing the last few years is more the Skyrunner World Series races. It's just interesting to me. Like, would you say, maybe this is a little more repetitive from the question that I kind of asked before, but would you say it's a better training ground for you for more specificity? Is there better things that you can get there? Because I feel like it's a little bit lower elevation, right? So you can, the power is different. Like, there's different things that you can maybe reap the benefits of, because a lot of the Skyrunner races outside of South America are probably lower altitude, right? They're not at 14,000 feet generally, other than a few.
Yeah, that's a great point. In Missoula, I've been able to do a lot more threshold type training. And I don't know if that's because I didn't grow up at altitude, so I was struggling to, the volume and altitude is fine. But when I added intensity, I'd always feel like I would have to spend a week recovering from those sessions. But in Missoula, we're at 3,000 feet, so it's basically sea level. Feel like I can do at least one session every week and feel like I can continue to train really hard and keep a high volume. In Alamosa, I just didn't do many workouts because I just couldn't handle it. Being Alamosa's at 7,500 feet, the terrain is a little rougher than running on trails here. So yeah, I think the specificity for skyrunning races, and the thing that I've probably, it's been my weakest, it's been the thing that I've struggled with the most has been the climbs in sky racing. Is like, for example, last year at the Minotaur, Scott Patterson, whose VO2 max is through the roof, probably ex-Olympic Nordic skier, he was catching me on all of the climbs. There are like 3 major climbs, and he would catch me every time, and then put a gap on me, and then I would eventually catch him on the descents. So that's something I feel like I've worked on a ton, especially this winter, training with Adam and Jeff and Aaron and all those guys and gals. Just adding in threshold training on the flats and on climbs. So I feel like I'm, at least based off of, if I'm using Mount Sentinel as a metric, my PR last year was just under 21 minutes. And then this year I was able to break 20 minutes on the climb. So nice. I've definitely gotten fitter in that sense. That don't know what the physiology is there exactly, but I'm fitter in that sense. I don't know that I'm fitter in the sense that I can still just go for long days in the mountains. But I do think that my uphill speed is better. My VO2 max has increased, I suppose. Not sure, but it gives me a lot of confidence, and I'm excited to test it out this year at some sky races. So absolutely. And you're right that none of them are really at altitude, especially when you're racing in, like, I'll race in Spain this year, and I'll race in Canada, and the high point of those races are like 7,000 feet, I think. So
not bad at all.
Yeah.
When you compare it to, at least it's not 11,000. So yeah, no, you definitely, there's a bit of advantage there. I just find it really interesting. Let me ask you this too, I know I'm like harping on the training piece. I'm just so curious, and because I love training theory. Adam and Jeff run completely different distances. It was really interesting to me to see you go line up and run canyons this year. And you showed that you absolutely have the talent and belong there. I mean, outside of, just having, a couple things go wrong, like, dude, you could have very well gotten a golden ticket on that day. So like the training that you're doing, like things are obviously working. Obviously it seems like your first love, and you can tell me if this is the truth, but like it seems like your first love is more the sky running. How do you mix up the training with them? Because they run such long stuff. Like their style almost is completely different than something like a skyrunner series, if you will.
Yeah, I think right now we're pretty different in what we're training for. But this earlier in the spring and throughout some of the winter also, we were able to train together quite a bit. They are so much more efficient at running on like rolling terrain and flat trails, which is something that part of the reason signing up for canyons this year was to switch up the stimulus a little bit. It became really apparent to me last year that I had a huge weakness in that I was very inefficient in my running stride. And so I noticed it actually at the rut, because the rut finishes with quite a long stretch of dirt road. And I was pretty close to Johnny coming down Lone Peak. And then I think he beat me by like 10 minutes at the end of the day. And so he put basically 10 minutes on me on that flat road section. And I was kind of like, that's, not every race is Minotaur. There are other races that I want to be competitive at that aren't all extremely mountainous. And so the canyons block of training that I had from March through April was really, I think, just to gain back what I felt like I had lost, which was some more biomechanics, my running economy, and then just being able to train with them, doing some long runs. I would link up with Adam and Jeff and do these 30-mile long runs, which was really challenging because they were, when I do long runs in the mountains, there's so much hiking involved.
Yeah.
And doing 30 miles around Missoula is a totally different stimulus. And it inevitably did kind of ruin my Achilles, but it was good to, it was just good to try. And I'm glad that I tried and put myself out there. I'm glad the way that I raced it, I just went for it. And I'm happy that I did that, as opposed to sticking back and racing conservatively. I wanted to just go for it, and
dude, save money, don't make money, man. I was cheering the whole way. I was like, Jackson's gonna get a golden ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh man, I found out. I definitely found out. That was rough. But cool also just to race all these people that I never get a chance to.
Yeah.
Canyons was extremely competitive this year. And I mean, I think I raced some people that I've never even raced before, which just the nature of skyrunning not really being available in the US. So yeah, that was cool too, just to see maybe how I stacked up against those guys. I mean, they all beat me at the end of the day because I dropped out, but it was a fun, just different to train for and run that race. It was a cool experience, but and I feel like there's a lot of fitness that I gained from that block of training that I don't think I would have trained that hard had I not had canyons on the calendar.
Yeah.
So that was a real positive. If I'm going to bring a positive away from it, it was that I became a more efficient runner, and I'm definitely fitter now because of it. And I can feel it when I train in the mountains now that I'm in a really good spot this early in the season. So
I'd love to hear it, man. Let me ask, I have two questions for you. One, do you think you would go back and do something like that again? Give it another try?
No.
No? Okay. If you would have gotten the golden ticket, Because you were damn close, dude. What would you have taken it, or would you?
No, there was never I'd been asked that question so many times, and no, I wouldn't have taken a ticket. The only way I would have taken a ticket would be if I had won the race and it just felt really easy for some reason. Then I would have been like, I gotta go to Western. But no, I was pretty certain that I wouldn't have taken a ticket if I'd gotten it. Just yeah, Western. Well, it would have affected my ability to race in at the Meet the Minotaur, and I think it just would have meant that in the last month I've really enjoyed getting up into the Alpine this early in the spring, or early in the summer. And if I was training for Western States, I'd be doing something totally different, and that's just not what's inspiring me right now. So
No, I don't blame you.
yeah.
I'd be remiss to ask a little bit more about I understand like it wasn't the day you wanted to have, but like I got to ask you some questions around it just because I'm just out of pure curiosity for myself. How did it unfold for you? You must have felt really comfortable for most of the race, given where you were running. At what point in time did it not feel so comfortable? How was it like? Because obviously ultras are so different from these sub-ultra races where in sub-ultra moves are being made all the time and you have to either cover or not. With ultra, it's a little bit different. Moves are much slower, I feel like, more or less. Maybe talk about some of those dynamics and how that played out in the race for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because in basically every race that I've ran in the past 3 years or 4 years has been these shorter sky races, and it's even a 4-hour race from the gun, you're just almost redlining up the first climb. So that was a little different. Canyon started out not slow, like we were running sub 6-minute miles to start out with, but it felt really comfortable. And so the first 30 miles of canyons are pretty hilly. So most of the elevation gain comes in that first 30 to 40 miles, and then it really flattens out towards the last 20, 25 miles. And so, my game plan going in was to sort of capitalize on that. And pretty early on within, I was just running with Jeff the first couple of hours. And then, the sun came up and there's a section where you dip down to a river and you come back up. So it's an out and back. It's like a 2,000 foot descent, 2,000 foot climb back up. And I just decided to go for it at that moment because it was relatively steep. And I figured I could gain some ground a little easier on people, just being that I'm really comfortable on technical descents. And so that's what I did. And I ended up creating this gap that was a little unintentional, and came back out of that climb in the lead. And I think I had maybe 5 minutes on Anthony Costalis and Francesco Pupi, and I held it until the first major like crew point, which was Michigan Bluff, I think, which is like mile 20 something. And part of my ignorance is that like I just had a friend come out to crew me and we were not very efficient. And I had so apparently I had a 2-minute lead on Francesco before he got to that aid station. And I was still like messing around with bottles and stuff like that. And he came in and left immediately. Man. And so I lost some time there and then ended up running with him for a little bit. So then I was in second up till Forest Hill. And then a guy, Hans Troyer, I think his name is, ended up passing me. And I felt pretty good at Forest Hill, which is mile 30. I remember saying to the person crewing me that I was just lamenting the fact that I was only halfway, and I felt fine, but man, it's like I should be done now.
It's a really long way.
Really, like this is starting to become kind of a grind. And then the course became really flat. We were running along the river for a long time, and I could just start to feel like the fatigue in my right calf, and my Achilles started to. I think just the fatigue is what caused my Achilles issues in the first place, and that popped up again. And then there's a climb up to the third major aid station, Crew Point, and I just couldn't run anymore. And I hiked it in and got there, and I sat down for a while, and then I had to drop. I couldn't keep running. So it was a huge bummer, but I felt like my nutrition was pretty dialed and everything else went about as well as I could have hoped for. Ultimately, I just can't handle that training. I can't handle 100-mile weeks.
Yeah.
I can't handle.
It's not just you.
Track session. Oh yeah. I think anyone who's been running in the mountains a long time struggles with that transition. But yeah, it was interesting. It really does solidify the idea that they're two different sports.
Yeah.
And to be good at one or the other really requires a definitive set of skills. Unless you're Killian, I guess he just still is able to do it all. But yeah, Killian's Killian.
Well, that's the thing. Some people are genetic outliers and adapt really well, and just others just like, dude, I like, it is so beyond me that Jeff ran 160 miles last week. Like, not only would the wheels come off, but like, I just don't like, it's so hard for me to comprehend, like, putting all of that time in to running in 1 week. It's so bananas. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to see now. I was just listening to actually a pod, like I think Finn and Jeff Colt were talking about just like the level and the amount of mileage people are putting in. Like, I feel like high mileage is back in. It's like, like people went away from it, and like now it's like back in these days. It's just interesting.
Yeah. I guess also with this high carb fueling and the shoes that people are wearing now, it's kind of like the same phenomenon that happened on the roads and track a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where people realized they could just push the boundaries a little bit because the gear is better. And now that super shoes are become, I think a few years ago I would have said that it didn't matter to have a super shoe on the trails, but I got the Prodigio Pros, and it's incredible how much return you get from that shoe. Just makes training a little bit easier. It'd be really hard if I was doing 100 miles a week in the Mutants or something.
Yeah.
But wearing the Prodigio Pros, you're like, oh yeah, this is a running shoe. And so yeah, I think with high carb fueling, new shoe technology, a good coach, you can push the boundaries like Jeff and Adamar and everyone else who's going to be racing Western States. Yeah.
Dude, that's so interesting to me. I was going to ask you about the Prodigio Pros because I know I've seen you race. What the hell is I should know this as a Sportivo athlete. What is that thin outsole shoe that almost looks like a soccer cleat that we make? It's like bright yellow. I've seen you race in them before. I just figured
the Cyclone?
It might have been no, it wasn't the Cyclone. It's another one. What the hell?
Maybe the Captiva.
That's it, the Captivas. Yeah. I just have always seen you race in more like lower profile stuff, so I was kind of curious to see if you would like the Prodigio Pro. I love them, but I like thick, fat running shoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll do a few Cirque Series this year, and I'll definitely use the Prodigio Pro.
Yeah.
For those Cirque Series races. I actually feel like there's a bit of a performance advantage running uphill on those shoes as well. Like, it kind of gives you a bit more spring on tired legs. But whether or not I'll race, a true mountain race in them is to be determined.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, will you continue to wear maybe the Cyclones or something like that for like Minotaur? Like, what would you wear for that?
I think so, but Sportiva's discontinued that shoe now, so I'm kind of scrambling to think of what to use now. I think I might use the Mutant.
Okay.
But I don't know. I would like to wear the Prodigio Pro, but and this is full I'm a lot. We're La Sportiva athletes, but the Prodigio Pro, I took a few bad falls trying to run steeper descents with the Prodigio Pro, and I don't know if it's because the shoe height's just different than what I'm used to, and if that was causing it. But I took some dingers training in that shoe, so I don't know if I feel totally confident on like a scree field, bombing a scree field in the Prodigio Pro.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a durable shoe, but I just worry the stack height so much that could be a little sketchy. And I think I could wear that shoe for any race, but I don't think I could go like full gas on a descent in that shoe. That wasn't like a service road or something like that. So
it's funny you say that. No, I was originally very skeptical. Dude, I finally got to play with the Maxes. Davide had a pair of the new Maxes the last time I saw them. Those are sick too. But the same thing, I had the same question with, is the stack height going to work for me? I still have not fallen in them or twisted an ankle. I had like a worry that I was going to crack an ankle in the pros, but I haven't done it yet. I mean, granted, I haven't ran in 3 weeks, but that said, even before then, I was training months in those shoes and I hadn't done it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious if you do run in the Mutants, because the Mutants scare me because I have wide feet. It's like I'm always worried about the stability and twisting an ankle, because I have cracked an ankle a couple times in the Mutants. They're great for uphill, I feel like, or for anything hiking to grasp it. But descending, it's a very precise shoe for descending. So I feel like if I open up stride, I'm worried that I'm going to like roll an ankle. It's an interesting shoe. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll most likely race the Minotaur and an old pair of Cyclones. But I think it will be the Mutant. I just wish the Mutant had a built-in gaiter.
Yeah.
Like the Prodigio Pro is this really nice sock, sort of grasping your ankle. I wish all shoes just had that.
Dude, I feel like we need to change the patent in all of our shoes now and just they should just put that gaiter on everything. I mean, why not at this point?
Yeah, it is awesome. It's so nice. It's very comfortable. Yeah.
Clutch. All right, let's get into Minotaur a little bit. I've been dying to ask you about this. So, like you said, this is your 4th time going back. You've had so many amazing finishes, including winning the damn race. Like, what is it about this race that you love so much? What is it that's so captivating? I still have not been. It's on the list, but
oh man, you have to come out at some point. Yeah, it's just so cool. Canadian mountain runners are really inspiring. The more that I've done that race and met people up in Canada, just the more I've grown to really like that community of people. They're all so kind and hardcore at the same time. The Canadian mountain running scene is probably similar to the Alaskan mountain running scene, where it's all really, really hard, hard trails, off trail, true mountain running, almost more similar to, it really does feel sometimes like fast and light alpinism. Obviously the Minotaur is not that technical, not like alpinism, but it is like a good mountain runner in Canada really does showcase like skills in the alpine. And I don't know, just that race has become really special. I'm going to head out there earlier this year just to help set up the course, and I just want to meet more people surrounding that race. And I don't know, something about it. It's just such a cool course, and it's real proper mountain running, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
it's really hard to find that in the US and anywhere in the world, really, outside of Europe. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. This is a hotly debated topic. Finn started World War III online this like a week and a half ago because he said something about the Wilderness Act, and people got really sensitive over it because they were talking about like Ultra Trail Snowdonia and how those mountains are just so beautiful. And because of the Wilderness Act in the States, obviously, and this opens up a whole other conversation, but because the Wilderness Act, obviously, we can't have races in certain wilderness areas of the United States, some of the most beautiful areas. And it just started like a conversation about it. And it got the wheels turning in my head. I was thinking like, man, like I wonder, like I wish there would have been more opportunities for us to have some races in wilderness areas, just because there's so many amazing and beautiful areas. Like, dude, even think about like if we put on like a Sangre sky race, right? Like how sick would something like that be? Or really there's so many areas in the States, not just Colorado, but where you could have just like really full on sky running or mountain races that we just can't do right now. Just kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, because the one thing that I find is missing from Europe is that sense of wilderness.
Yeah.
Although I will say, with the caveat being that I've only really been to like Zermatt and Chamonix and the sort of meccas of trail running and alpinism. So I don't know that my examples are great. Maybe there really truly is wilderness to be found in Europe, but that hasn't been my experience. Whereas even in Colorado, where it's so built up, there are truly wild places still in existence. But I don't know that adding a race to a wilderness area doesn't mean that it's going to become less wild. It just means that for a brief moment in time, there'll be 300 people moving through that area at one time, which I think some people might see as being like kind of destructive to the environment or something. But yeah, man, I have some opinions, but I'll try to keep them to myself.
I was going to go with the Michelino conversation eventually, but I don't know if we
Yeah. Well, it's just so unfortunate, because now, I was thinking about the most prestigious, or the speed records that are really sought after are oftentimes in an area like a national park, which is, extremely strict wilderness regulations in those places. But it's just so unfortunate, because they are so heavily protected, and then at the same time they're so crowded, and it feels like we are ignoring the real issue, being that these crowded places are really just for, it's a capitalist society in the States, and people are profiting off of wild places. And then, the Michaelino situation's totally fucked. That's just such bullshit.
It's so crazy.
But that's just one of many examples where it seems really arbitrary. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to go one more deeper. As someone that's trained there heavily and possibly wants that record at some point in time, or might have gone for it. Do you think you'll go back and try and get it at this point? Or do you think that's kind of, especially because you're one of the few people that actually have the skill set to be able to get that record. There's not many people that can say that. What does that do for you? Is that like a big no-no now, or?
Oh man. Yeah, I have been going back and forth on this basically since then. I was planning on going for the record in August, before I left for Europe, and I ended up getting COVID like 2 weeks out from leaving for Europe, and so it shut my window down to go after the grand record. And I mean, I was pretty 50-50 on whether or not I would cut that switchback. And in hindsight, I'm glad I got COVID, because I'm not saying I would have gotten that record or anything, but if I had cut the switchback, I don't know that I could handle the heat as gracefully as Michaelino has. I don't know how he's dealt with all this. I mean, I'm sure it sucked, but he's dealt with it better than I would have. I don't know. It's tough, because I feel like now trail runners, or more specifically mountain runners on the Grand, I don't know that the guides are going to appreciate people being up there. They already didn't exactly like someone being up there with just running shoes, and I think they're going to really dislike it now. So it seems like kind of an awkward situation. And a part of me is was really stoked to still get after that record, but a part of me doesn't want to deal with just the people on that mountain.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
There's a lot of bullshit surrounding it now. It almost taints it.
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to hit out. I plan on hitting out there in August this year, and I'm going to, be on the Grand, and I'll run it. And whether or not I go for that record, I'll just have to see what the vibe is like on the mountain, because it can be really crowded up there, and there are a lot of mountain guides, and there are instances where you need people to potentially like just scoot to the side for you to get past them.
Yeah.
And generally that's been, at least in my experience, okay. But I can see maybe now, like, I don't want to go for a record attempt and be really close and have a party there who, is unwilling to scoot aside for a sec or whatever, which is, I mean, that sounds kind of elitist of me to say, but in the past it's been fine. But I feel like now there's this negative light shit on mountain runners on that mountain. So,
well, it begs the question too. Like I'm not as much a historian on this, but I know when Anderson went for it, obviously it was I won't say long ago, but at this point it is kind of long ago. There was probably less people on the mountain, right? So I feel like now with the amount and just level of tourism that park gets and those lower switchbacks get, I don't think it can be done, man. I mean, maybe, but it's like, especially to do it without bypassing that switchback. Like, I don't know.
I think it's possible, but you'd have to, I think the key would be to do it on a, like, the same style like they do on the Matterhorn, where they wait for the perfect weather window and just do it late in the afternoon. I see that as being the only way to break that record now, because it wouldn't be my style to do it and have people out there supporting me. I'd have to do it just by myself. So I'm not going to have someone like running in front of me asking people to get out of the way or anything. I think that would actually be quite annoying. I think that was like what Jack and Michaelino were doing it in that style, and I don't think that's definitely not the way to go. Because I mean, imagine if you're like out there hiking and like someone's yelling at you to get out of the way. I don't know. It, like, from my perspective, that seems kind of rude.
Yeah, it kind of ruins the experience for the hiker.
Yeah, but if you try to do it really late in the afternoon or something like that, I think you can get away with it. So that would be, if I were to go for it this year, I would do it. Probably start at like, man, I'd have to see what time it gets dark in August, but yeah, try to start at like 6 or 7 p.m. or something.
Interesting. You don't think doing it I mean, just out of pure curiosity, and we don't have to go too deep into this on Inside Baseball, but like scrambling up there in the dark, that doesn't like give you the heebie-jeebies?
Well, ideally, it won't be getting dark until you're like back down close to the like switchbacks.
Okay, fair enough.
I wouldn't be able to do. You wouldn't be able to move very fast to be a headlamp on the upper section of that mountain, like in the dark. But if you could catch it right as like, if you summit like right as the sun sets, that'd also just be really epic.
Kind of sick, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Dude, that's so interesting, man. Thanks for providing some commentary and being open about it. It's funny, man. People get cagey about the conversation and the topic, but I feel like us as athletes need to be more, I don't want to say outspoken, but just like more open about having the conversation on what we think is the right way to do it. And obviously everybody has different opinions, and I think that's the beauty is everybody having the ability to have an opinion on it. But it's like, the less we talk about it and the more we get it out there in the mainstream is like the less it's going to be before someone else tries to take a crack at it. And I would feel terrible if like no one just ever attempts it again, because there's just so much taboo around it, Yeah,
totally. I mean, it is such a cool mountain, and it makes so much sense to want to go fast on that mountain. It's a totally worthy objective. I don't know. The problem, I think, was that, historically, the only people that really cared or paid attention to the grand record and things happening in the Alpine like that were more the hardcore mountain runner folk. Michaelino's situation just kind of opened the floodgates to a whole variety of people without any context. And it got super frustrating to just have to read about everyone's hot take without understanding any of the historical significance. And even, people talking about Andy's record, and he didn't cut that lower switchback on the main trail.
Yeah.
But like he took from my understanding is he took a really direct path once he got above what is it, Garnet Canyon or whatever. Basically once you veer off the main trail and get onto the boulders, from there he took like a really direct path to the summit. And that's where, a lot of Jackson locals gave Michaelino some shit because they were saying that he was
Rockfall.
off this trail. And I mean, the trail in reference is like just a user dirt path. Doesn't seem like it's maintained at all. And so, it's like people were saying, Andy's ethics were so much better than Michaelino's, but the reality is that's so untrue.
Yeah.
And, right after Michaelino broke Andy's record, Andy was stoked and gave him the plaque, and it was all cool. But unfortunately, the North Face making a big deal out of it just opened up the floodgates for people to have their opinion and comment online. And the back and forth was super lame. There are a lot of pro athletes and, high profile people in the sport that had some comments that,
just misinformed,
made me really unhappy. And it just sucked. The people that put Michaelino on blast, super uncalled for, super uncool. It's such a weird situation. I had to separate myself from it eventually because I was like, this is just...
Oh, it's frustrating. I think the thing too is that, like, at least my perspective on this is that, like, there's not a lot of us floating around, in the sense that, like, it's kind of an elite fraternity of athletes. Like, there's not many athletes out there, like people that like actually understand this shit. Like, why are we not protecting our own? Like, in the sense where, like, we should all be, if, like, regardless of like what people think, whether he was wrong or right, like at the end of the day, like, I think the court of public opinion, like, trail runners should stand up for their own, in the sense. It's not like he poached a fucking grizzly bear on the way down. Like, he literally just did, like, and they treated it like that. It was crazy. But it's like I said, it's kind of one of those things where it was very frustrating, very upsetting. And I do have a very strong opinion that, like, we should be sticking up for our own and, kind of protecting him given that. But
no, totally. Yeah. Kudos to you for being so vocal about it. I can't think of anyone else in the media who was, supportive of Michaelino in those early moments. Because I guess you have the context, like, you understand it.
Well, dude, I had him on like a week before he did it, and like gave me the whole like, I had all the information ahead of time, and like I knew most of like the just the information surrounding it going in. And then when it all went down, there was just a lot of bullshit, obviously, at the end of the day. But like, I was like, this is a good person. Why are people like Michaelino inadvertently, without even trying, became like one of the most famous runners in the entire world in the worst way possible. But I was just very close to the situation. And since then become very close with Michaelino and just have become a good friend. But like, it's crazy, man. It's
I was just messy and yeah. I don't know what else to say about it.
No, I was going to say, like, hopefully it moves on and everything's all good. I don't know if he's now relocated to Salt Lake, but that information dropped today. So I'm curious I'm supposed to talk to him tomorrow. So we'll see if there's more information on the case and what's going on there. Let's get back into you. I want to talk about the rest of your journey through the 2025 season. So obviously you're going to Minotaur. What else is on deck for your racing season?
So after Meet the Minotaur, I'm gonna head out to the Northern Cascades and plan on trying to repeat the North Cascades high route with David Hedges and Michael Worth.
Nice.
So I've been spending a bit of time out in and around Mazama, just getting a little more familiar with the Cascades. And so hopefully if we find the right day, and it's a little dependent right now on the current snowpack and how warm it is. We originally planned on doing it at the end of July, which is when Jenny and Caitlin had attempted the high route a couple of years ago. But it's a different snow year. There's less snow than there was that year in 23. And so we have to, it's so much glacier travel, so we have to be pretty aware of, or pretty diligent in terms of not waiting too late. And then crevasses open up, become too wide for us to cross. And so, after Minotaur, I'll just head out there and then try to find the right time to go for that effort. And I don't really have anything that's sort of going to take up the entire month of July for me.
Nice.
And after that, I will probably do a couple Cirque Series races in August. And I'm like going to be out in the Tetons and maybe go for the grand record. I don't know yet. That's definitely to be determined. I'll just play that by ear. And then in September, I'll run the Rut 28K. And after that, we'll head straight to Spain for the World Champs in Canfranc. I was lucky to get a spot on the New Zealand team for the short course.
Nice.
Really, really psyched about that. And that course is, I think, going to suit me well. And then I'll do a race in Ireland, the Mourne Sky Race. It's part of the Skyrunning World Series. And that's October 11th. And I think that'll probably be the end of my season. So that's sort of how I have it planned out right now. There might be a few other like FKT type things in between then, but that's the main focus. Yeah.
Dude, I gotta get to you with this. Like, I'm super intrigued by the Cascades. So maybe talk to the audience a little bit more about this high route. Like, cause I know Caitlin Gerben North Face made an amazing video, but like, it just seemed like it took a fucking eternity last year whenever they put it out, when they did it, just because it's obviously there was a lot of unknowns there with linking everything up. And in July, like, are you going to just project it, like do different pieces of it and then complete it? Or like, how do you plan to approach that?
Yeah, we'll be trying to scout some of the sections through the I think we'll try and do the Ptarmigan Traverse, which is the southern portion of that route, sort of the last third of it. So we'll try to scout that, and we'll try to do some of the more technical sections, some of the more remote sections further north, near the Canadian border. We'll try to link to, ideally we would try to do in the span of like a few weeks, try to do like 3 or 4 big days and scout most of the course. I don't know how realistic that will be, because it gets really remote out there, so the access gets kind of tricky. But yeah, the Cascades in general are really wild. Reminds me a lot of the European Alps, minus the altitude, because most of the peaks in the Cascades that aren't volcanoes are usually only like 8 to 10,000 feet tall. But heavily glaciated terrain, the rock is really steep, a lot of scrambling, and a lot of we'll be utilizing ropes for not only some of the crevassed sections and glaciated terrain, but also there's a lot of steep snow and a lot of scrambling involved, a lot of rappelling. So yeah, it's like definitely more, feels a bit more like proper mountaineering, as opposed to just the stats on the North Cascades high route are kind of similar to the Nolan's 14, but it's a completely different endeavor. The North Cascades high route, I haven't stepped foot on any of that route yet, but just from Michael and I had a chat with Jenny a couple weeks ago, and just in talking with her, you kind of realize that the movie that they put out didn't really showcase how challenging that route really was.
Man.
So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty full on. And it's going to be, we're hoping it takes us a similar amount of time to Jenny and Caitlin. And so it's going to be a full, like, 4 days to 7 days of just being out there by ourselves. We're hoping to do it fully unsupported as well, or self-supported. So we'll have stashes at some of the road crossing junctions. But yeah, it's going to feel pretty wild and pretty out there. But
it's a proper boys trip, dude. That's gonna be a fun
boys trip. Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be a fun one. Oh man. And just the remoteness is what's so crazy. Like, I don't think people realize just how, like, it's back there. It's so out there. It's not even funny. In fact, after we get off this, like, I have a bike. I'm going to jump on the bike after we get off, and that's the first thing I'm going to go watch is the high route video on YouTube.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But dude, wishing you the best. When you guys finish it, man, I got to have all three of you on, because David's an alumni of the podcast as well. I haven't had Michael on yet, but we should maybe we'll do like a round table episode. That'd be kind of fun to talk about it, just because I don't think people like just know that much about it. So maybe to put some visibility on just what the level of effort is like for that. So
yeah, that'd be awesome. I know we'd be, I'm sure, full of stories and adventure to talk about after hopefully completing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah, I was kind of curious to what David was going to get into this year. So now I know a piece of it. So that's interesting.
Yeah. He's out. He's running Valderon 100K. I think the 100K pretty soon. And I think when he gets back from that, he'll just also like go straight to the Cascades, and we'll start getting on route. Yeah.
Cool. Dude, it's exciting to hear that you're going to do a couple Cirque Series races. Are you doing probably Alta and Targi? I'll probably see it both of those. Yep. Hopefully, I'd like to see it both of those. We'll see. Hopefully I get there.
Yeah, that's the plan. Alta and Targi. I haven't run Alta before.
You'll like that course.
I have buddies out in Salt Lake, and I think that'll be a fun to do a Cirque Series race. Those are so cool. Yeah. The hype that they create is really awesome. It's like more of a party than anything.
Yeah, I'm surprised you like Targi as much, because Targi, to me, not that I didn't like it. I mean, it was epic, but just there's not as much vertical as the other races. So for me, it was like, this is flat. It's like it was a mix of the things, like the pieces I don't like, because I like dirt road descending. I just like the dirt roads, which is Alta is all like super steep, gnarly road, and then you get onto some like stupid steepest descents. So okay. Alta, you'll like Alta. That's it's probably my favorite course.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I've only done A Basin and Grand Tarhi, so I think I don't know what it's like to do like a really mountainous Cirque Series race, like Snowbird, and obviously Alyeska it's like real sky running.
Yep.
But it'll be cool. Obviously now that it's a Sportiva sponsored event, I feel obligated to be out there and hopefully perform well. But they're fun races regardless. And in areas like, when I go out to Grand Tarhi, I'll definitely make that part of the trip to the Tetons and maybe do some cool things in the Wasatch or link up with people. Yeah, there's just so much to do. So it's cool that those events also just bring you to cool areas. So I'm also excited for that.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun summer, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping I can get my shit together so I can be healthy again. And I'm signed up for Alyeska, and that's 2 months out ish. So hopefully I can make it to that. That's kind of the next frontier for me, is to get up to Alaska and see what that's all about. So
yeah. So did you not get into Mount Marathon via the lottery?
I didn't even apply.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I was going. So what happened was, the wife and I were trying to figure out just like scheduling, because we leave this week to go out east. The original plan was Sunapee, Cirque Cannon, and Killington. We kind of shifted the plan once I started having some issues with my sacrum thing. So, and it just became Killington. But we're like, okay, well, we're gonna drive out to Killington because we have just to kind of save money. Like we have family that lives like really close to there. So we're just going to stay with them, do the drive out because we have the dogs. So it was a matter of like, okay, how fast can we get there from June 28th to get to Alaska? Just the turnover to get to there July 4th was not easy. So it was like, all right, I'm going to forego that, maybe try to get into it next year and just, we'll turn it into a vacation and go out there. And I'll just do Alaska at the end of the month just because it's easier to do from a scheduling perspective. But yeah, it's hopefully I can pull it off. We'll see.
Yeah. I always find that as well, where in the winter, especially in like December and January, I plan all these epic mountain trips, and then you get to the realization that you can't just fit everything in. You're gonna have to reevaluate your goals a little bit. But yeah. I applied for Mount Marathon and didn't get in via the lottery. But like I would love to do Alaska, but timing wise it's not going to work out for me, which is
into July.
But there's just so many things, so many cool things to do, that more reason to sign up for new stuff next year. And
you know, man, it's funny, like I've been playing around a lot on the bike, and I've kind of like adopted the Kyle Richardson way that like kind of like it's opened my eyes with like doing like really big bike link ups and running peaks. And I'm like, this is actually an amazing way to build fitness and like kind of get to see things you wouldn't normally see just like driving to a trailhead, rather than like you can bike to the trailhead and like link up different peaks and like link up different places. So that's kind of had me intrigued and compelled too. Like I might like alter part of the season once I get my shit together and start doing like maybe do a big bike link up this year or something like that and kind of link some peaks.
Yeah. One of the coolest things I remember Anton Krupicka did, I don't know how many years ago, but he linked up the 4 great traverses, you know, like the Little Bear Blanca Traverse, Creston's Traverse, Maroon Bells. He did that in like a big bike trip. And I've always thought that would be really cool link up to do. And when you add the bike, you sort of open the floodgates to super sick mountain adventures. Human powered. It's really cool.
It is. It's a beautiful way to see things and build fitness. I've been slowly realizing it. Like I've been doing a lot of like pass link ups and stuff like that recently. Now that the high country's kind of open up, I'm like, damn, this is, I didn't realize like you can bike from like Salida to Gunnison and it's really not that hard. Like there's a lot of different ways to get to different places. So I was like, something I'll play with, you know.
So. You get way more, you can start adding a lot more hours to your training when you add the bike.
Big time. Big time. But all right, man. Well, listen, we're at a little bit over an hour. Dude, I want to thank you so much for your time. I love these conversations. We got to keep these going. We'll do another one after the season. Once you get back from Worlds, we can kind of catch up on the season. And I can't wait to hear about that Ireland race as well. So wishing you the best of luck on your season. And and high route as well. Dude, got so much fun stuff going on. We're going to be in touch.
Sweet. Yeah, it was good chatting with you, man.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate it, Jackson.
Cool. All right.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Listen up, guys. The Steep Stuff podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Direction USA. Guys, I am so excited. UD just dropped their new Race Vest 6-liter and Ultra Vest 12-liter in 2 beautiful aesthetic colors. You guys got to check these new vests out. They're dynamic in ways like that you just have never seen from an Ultimate Direction vest. Very stretchy, lots of storage, beautiful aesthetic colorways coming to you in a new, like a white and blue and an onyx and green. Just absolutely beautiful vests. I think these ones are just like some of the best products we've ever dropped, and I'm so excited for you guys to try them out. Hop on ultimatedirection.com and use code SteepStuffPod. Again, that's SteepStuffPod for 25% off your new vest. I mean, they're already affordably priced, but 25% off is just going to make it so much more affordable for folks in an already increasingly expensive trail running environment. So hop on ultimatedirection.com, get yourself a new vest, a pack, or any hydration solution, and let me know what you guys think. What a great episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Genuinely appreciate it. Before we get going, if you guys want to hop on Instagram, the best way you can support Jackson is by giving him a follow. You can find him at JAYRCOLEE, or just typing in Jackson, that's JACKSON, Cole. You can find him that way. Give him an Instagram follow, send him some DMs, ask him questions if you have questions. Like I said, Jackson's a great guy. Definitely one of the most, just like super knowledgeable, man. Like, you want to talk about a student of the game. His knowledge level of just not just the history, but just like so many of these routes is crazy. So the dude is a consummate professional, and yeah, wishing him the best of luck in everything he's going to take on this summer, as he's got some big objectives. So guys, before you get going, one of the best ways you could support this podcast is to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you consume your podcasts. That would be amazing, and thank you so much. And very, very last but not least, if you are in the market for a pack, a waist belt, bottles, hydration, any hydration solution, give Ultimate Direction a follow. Hop on ultimatedirection.com and use code SteepStuffPod. It's going to get you 25% off your cart. If you have any questions on any products, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'd be happy to answer you. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for tuning in.